We've been following Ed Martin. He's the former lawyer for the J6ers, who's a Trump-loyalist, who keeps getting in hot water. Remember, he was supposed to be U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, but he was rejected by the normally very compliant U.S. Senate. And then he was made director of the Weaponization Working Group for the Trump administration, but then he was removed from his leadership post in February, and then he was made a pardon attorney, which is his current title. Well, now he's facing trouble with the bar. He may get disbarred. Let's discuss. I'm Dave Aronberg, former state attorney for Palm Beach County, a.k.a. the Florida Lawman here on Substack. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. If you have, please consider upgrading your subscription. We had a great Q&A with our paid subscribers, and just hope that we can continue to do the two-way conversation. And as far as Ed Martin is concerned, so he's still the pardon attorney, which is his title because he keeps getting booted from other titles like interim U.S. attorney or director of the Weaponization Working Group. Remember, Ed Martin is the guy who also was going after Letitia James as the head of the Weaponization Working Group. It's always about projection with these guys. Remember, he was standing outside Letitia James' home wearing a trench coat like he's Columbo or something. So it's like one controversy after the next. And in an administration like Trump's, where being MAGA means never having to say you're sorry, where being MAGA means never having to apologize or ever losing your job. And if you do lose your job, like Kristi Noem, you get some other job, some weird title, like what is she? Guardian of the Americas. Well, that's what's happened to Ed Martin. There's only so many jobs he can keep falling down to before he ends up hitting the ground. According to the New York Times, the disciplinary body for lawyers in the District of Columbia has filed ethics charges against Ed Martin, a senior Justice Department official in the Trump administration, accusing him of misconduct in seeking to punish Georgetown University's law school, according to a filing. Mr. Martin, who has spearheaded efforts by President Trump to use the Justice Department to punish the president's perceived enemies, faces 2 counts of misconduct. The filing, submitted on Friday before the D.C. Court of Appeals Board on Professional Responsibility, is comparable to a civil lawsuit complaint in court and was signed by Hamilton P. Fox III, the disciplinary counsel for the D.C. Bar. Mr. Martin, who was forced to step down as the U.S. Attorney in Washington because he did not have the Senate votes for confirmation, instead became the Justice Department's pardon attorney. In that role, he has had far more access and influence in the White House than many of his predecessors. Mr. Martin is accused of breaking several ethics rules for lawyers, violating his oath of office after swearing to support the Constitution, conducting unauthorized ex parte communications with a judge, and engaging in a conduct that seriously interferes with the administration of justice. So he could be disbarred. That's the maximum. Or it could be a long, drawn-out effort that eventually censures him or does something minor. But this guy has a track record. And if you want to know what he did against Georgetown, so he accused Georgetown of DEI. Yeah, teaching and promoting DEI. And he then, before getting a response from Georgetown, which he sent them a letter, even though he didn't define DEI, just went after them. He announced in a letter from February 17th that he was imposing sanctions on Georgetown law. And he noted that his office, for example, would not offer any applicants from Georgetown internships, fellowships, or any jobs until the school responded. And so the complaint against him, against Ed Martin, is that he should have known that as a government official, his conduct violated the First and Fifth Amendments of the Constitution. The First Amendment, the right to free speech. Fifth Amendment, right to due process. That's what they're referring to. And that's where the disciplinary inquiry has gone. It went from there, and now it's going to the bar. And instead of responding to the disciplinary complaint, Martin contacted the chief judge and the senior judges of the D.C. Court of Appeals. He complained about the disciplinary lawyer's uneven behavior. So what happens, the bar assigns a disciplinary lawyer to oversee it, and then Martin, instead of responding to the inquiry, tries to go over their heads to the judiciary. He actually asked for a face-to-face meeting to discuss this matter and find a way forward. You can't do that. And the chief judge predictably said, no, we can't do this. This is improper. And so it just made his troubles worse. It added more charges to him. So here's a guy who was not qualified and not approved to be U.S. Attorney for District of Columbia. Here's someone who then gets a different job in the Trump administration and then tried to exploit it by going after people like Letitia James, and then decided to go after Georgetown, and now it's blowing up in his face. But we'll keep following it here. On Substack, I'm Dave Ehrenberg, former state attorney for Palm Beach County, a.k.a. the Florida Lawman. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button. If you've already hit the subscribe button, please consider upgrading your subscription. I appreciate all your support, and I'll see you next time.